And we are live. So, welcome to episode 80 of An American Werewolf in New Jersey. I am the American Werewolf. Joining us here tonight, coming in from the cold, is the 31st day. Thank you for joining us. We're glad you made it out of there safe. On the green screen. Well, I'm taking your word for it. We've known each other for a minute. Now we've got a problem here with the green screen because Eric is like dedicated to the show, but he's also dedicated to watching Cinemax after dark. So
That's
when
right.
he goes green, we can't quite see what he's doing watching all that Cinemax, but we're going to take his word like 31st day that he's here. We've got Eric from Hey Internet Eric here. So
I promise I am here.
I can see him. I can read the Matrix. So he's dodging agents.
Zeros and ones, or like he's like in I Trap the Devil or something. All right, and we've got Radical Rod out on the left coast, who's in the middle of his COVID quarantine, asymptomatic. So thank goodness for that. We're always happy to hear, and we're able to actually get him at an early hour here on the East Coast. Usually with Rod, it's the 10 p.m. show, and whoever can jump on. I'm always happy to do a late show, but we got Rod here at back in the old Jersey hours. So
I'm glad I can get on here early, man.
Yeah. Welcome aboard, man.
We are too.
This is yeah, exactly. Yeah, I usually have to have like a Monster energy drink or something for like 11 o'clock or something. Yeah, exactly.
What do you got?
So where's my check?
It's in the mail, man. It's in the mail. Should be there any time now. So, Sunday, I sat down and prepared to watch the movie that we're talking about tonight, 30 Days of Night. And I saw on Twitter, and I think Eric can back me up here, Mike Flanagan. Famous director and story director and just fucking fantastic director of Dr. Sleep, Gerald's Game, The Haunting of Hill House, and what to me, and I said this last week, the best piece of horror to come out of 2021, Midnight Mass on Netflix, tweeted his top 5 vampire films. And so a couple of them I didn't know. 30 Days of Night was not in there. I think his number 1 vampire movie was Nosferatu the Vampire, which was Herzog's interpretation. That was number 1. He had a few others that I hadn't heard of before. Whatever. But I ended up tweeting. I thought that was a good opportunity for me to, retweet mine, with his list. And I had as my number 1. I thought Nosferatu. I thought Kinski's interpretation of Nosferatu was just fucking epic. It was just scary as fuck because Kinski in real life was an actual fucking like a fiend. If you know anything about him, I mean, he was sketchy.
Yeah.
After that, I had 30 Days of Night, Salem's Lot. Another movie that we have coming up soon for Cold and Scary, Let the Right One In, which I can't wait to cover. And then I had, and you got to represent with some fucking Christopher Lee, Horror of Dracula. If I had an honorable mention, I would have had Stakeland in there. But, for everything that I would have replaced Stakeland with Horror of Dracula, but with everything that Horror of Dracula is responsible for in terms of revolutionizing vampire movies that we've talked about for quite a while now, you have to have it on the list. But I thought that was just a fantastic opportunity and a nice fucking way to segue into my screening of 30 Days of Night, which I own on Blu-ray. If you're at the beginning of the stream here, right now it's available on Pluto TV, which is a free app where you can stream movies for free. It's got advertisements in there. I started to watch it on Pluto, but I didn't feel like going through the ads. And I'm like, well, the hell with it. I'm just going to pull it off the shelf. And plus, I didn't want to do what 31st Day had done when we did The Devil's Rejects, who actually was too lazy to pull the DVD off his shelf and actually paid the $3.99 to rent the fucker.
Wow.
Off
It was
the couch.
literally 10 feet away from me. Instead of just the button on the bed.
Hey, I paid $3.90. I paid $3.99 to see this one. So yeah.
All right. So there you go. There's our metric. That's what we use. But we've got a fucking fantastic movie to start with tonight. So are you ready to go?
You buddy.
Go.
Boogie woogie. So, in keeping with staying away from names, images, and likenesses, that's our new intro, and I kind of like the less is more approach. Mm-hmm. Now, this is an off the hook vampire flick that just sort of comes out of nowhere in the midst of all these stylized vampires and horror romances. And, these epic, lavish things that just go completely over the top. Someone decided to create a vampire movie that was based on a graphic novel.
Yep.
And this is based on the graphic miniseries. Actually, there's 3 of these in its entirety. Very nice. Mine are on their way. By a guy named Steve Niles. And the first one is called 30 Days of Night, which is essentially, there's 3 volumes in the omnibus. The first one, 30 Days of Night. The second one, 30 Days, Dark Days. And then the third one, 30 Days, Return to Barrow, which takes place a year later with Eben's brother, the Eben character and his brother, and, whether or not things are actually safe a year later in Barrow, Alaska. But I was blown away right off the gate with the opening scene. Because one of my favorite actors and I think one of the most underrated actors in all of Hollywood, Ben Foster.
Yes.
Ben Foster is just leading this scene with the ice and the snow caked in the face, and he's just got this dead fucking look in his eyes, and you're like, oh, this is going to be scary. And if Eric remembers, what happens when we first talked about Stakeland, within the first 5 minutes, I'm just kind of won over. Yep. I'm won over. And so I'm won over by this opening scene. I'm like, oh shit, Ben Foster's in this. Ben Foster looks scary as hell. And then it switches.
He's brilliant in this.
Ben Foster in my mind is always brilliant. I think he's fantastic. I'll watch anything Ben Foster is in. He does not disappoint. And then we go to the floating ship.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just a creepy ass scene. It looks like a floating Castle Dracula.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, oh boy. I still remember the first time I saw this, and I was like, wow, these guys are going for it early. They're going, now I don't know if it's going to hold up, and it did. With this movie, it did. But I knew, like, coming right out of the gate, just like with Stakeland, you were in for something. And then you understand that Ben Foster is coming off of that ship and moving towards the town of Barrow, Alaska.
That opening scene just establishes this as something completely unique as far as vampires go. I mean, immediately I was like, oh, okay, they're coming across the Bering Strait from Russia. That's badass. Old world meeting new world right across the Bering Sea. It was just a great scene. You're right. A floating Dracula's castle.
Yeah, I completely forgot Ben Foster was in this because we were talking in our little group text that I haven't seen this movie in years. So I'd forgotten he was completely in it. And I've always, like you said, Mike, I'll watch anything with Ben Foster, whether it's this, whether it's The Punisher, an X. He's in one of the X-Men movies. He plays a really crazy psychotic in the movie Hostage with Bruce Willis. He's even in Warcraft as a wizard. He is good in every single thing he is in.
Yeah.
And so I was excited he was in this film, and it starts out great, but then once he starts talking, and he's got that weird,
Yeah.
I don't know what type of accent it is. It's completely off. It doesn't match how anyone's speaking in Alaska, but that adds to me the creepiness, the danger, and then he's just so dead in the eyes talking to these people. He said he's not turned yet, but he's involved and something bad's going down.
Yeah, perfect Renfield. I mean, he's speaking in a way that stands out. I don't know where that accent is either, but it's sort of like Renfield without the crazy, creepy laugh, but it's still establishing him as something other than a normal person. It's great.
Yeah, when he's asking for raw meat at the diner.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Rod.
No, go ahead.
No. Go. I'll come back.
No. He's just what he established in this movie is so powerful with his speech. It just pulls you in and adds to that creepiness of this whole film. When he does ask for the raw meat and you see his gritty, dirty teeth speaking and just speaking through he just pulls you in and just makes you want to just and yes, as I know, I'm not a horror film person and I don't like horror films, but he actually did really pull me into this whole film.
You wanted to see what was up with him.
Yeah.
Well, he makes you want to step away, especially when you see the dirty teeth, and you can imagine that he probably smells awful.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just, and he's going into all these places. Ben Foster has been a favorite of mine for a long time. He was great in 3:10 to Yuma, but he was in Russell Crowe's Gang. I loved him in that modern Western with Christian Bale. It's one of my favorite Westerns of all time, Hostiles, where he plays that Union soldier that Christian Bale has to also take to be hung. He was great in Dennis Villeneuve's Hell or High Water, which is just one of the best crime movies of the past 20 years. If you haven't seen it, with Chris Pine and Jeff Bridges, I would love to cover that sometime. It's a little outside of what we do, but we cover good fucking movies, and that definitely fucking qualifies. Chris Pine, those guys, and anything with Ben Foster. So, what ends up happening? We shift from there to where you see the first crime taking place, and you don't put it together at first. Someone has torched all the satellite phones. Someone has taken all the satellite phones out into the middle of the snow and doused them in some sort of, flammable, and destroyed all the satellite phones. And so we're finding out, of course, that this is Barrow, Alaska, a small town in Alaska that is on the last day of sunlight. Because for whatever reasons, whatever meteorological reasons, they go through 31 full month of nothing but night. For some reason, the sun doesn't particularly shine. I think this is actually true in some parts of the world, or maybe up there. I'm not 100% sure. But when I saw this idea, I said, my God, this is just completely virgin territory for a vampire novel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. This is completely uncharted territory. 30 complete days of darkness, no sunlight whatsoever. It's a vampire's wet dream. It's a it's a vampire fans or a vampire movies fan wet dream. How has someone not put this together before? Because it's a relatively new idea. I don't think the graphic novel was released till 2003.
I sadly haven't read it yet, but I've heard it was really good.
It is. I remember a long time ago, this was centuries ago. I used to work at local Borders here in this part of South Jersey, and you were allowed to actually borrow the graphic novels and take them home as long as you took
cool.
good care of them and bring them back. So I had a field day with that. You could just sit there and read from here to eternity. Now, there's a series. I love how the exposition sort of unwinds. You understand that this is the last, full day where there's going to be some daylight. There's this one crime that takes place with the cell phones. Then, and this is where, before we even get to Ben Foster and the hamburger meat and all this stuff, there's the dogs.
Yep.
And the person that you understand is Ben Foster takes out a long Bowie knife and just graphically and cruelly murders all the sled dogs in the town.
Yep. Visually, it reminded me of The Thing.
Yes.
First time I saw it when I was in the theater, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's like a little homage." The dogs with their mouths all stuck open in the blood. It was just like something out of The Thing.
And go ahead, somebody else. I'm sorry.
Oh
Anybody?
no! I was just saying it was something I didn't expect that to happen either. It was just one of those out of nowhere scenes, and then as the movie goes on, you realize it is Ben doing it and why he did it.
Yeah. Slowly but surely, he is cutting off any access of escape. So that when the vampires descend off the ship, these people are completely engulfed, and it's
and nowhere to go.
Yeah, it's like what Steve was saying when we were doing The Shining. He said in a horror movie, your characters have to be trapped. And so Eric, you were here for that when we were talking about The Shining. He's like, when we're talking about The Shining, obviously they're trapped by the snowstorm. Nightmare on Elm Street, you have to sleep. You're trapped in your dreams. Alien, everybody's trapped on the ship. You can't get out. These people, slowly but surely, over the course of the first 20 minutes of the movie, are being completely isolated from the rest of the world. 2/3 of the population is leaving because they can't cope with these particular 30 days. So they go somewhere else to like Washington State, or they fly out to wherever it is they're going to go, separating families for about 30 days. And this hardcore group of people, it goes from about 550 to a little over 100 people left over. So 80% of the town has gone away. The phones have been, destroyed. All the satellite phones that will, assist them in the weather. All the dogs, that's an access of escape. He destroys the helicopter, the one helicopter that they have access to. And by the time the sheriff, who's played by Josh Hartnett, and Josh Hartnett is one of my favorite actors, actually. We don't see him nearly enough. I remember him from Black Hawk Down, seeing him in this, and then in one of my all-time favorite horror series, Penny Dreadful.
He reminds me of Keanu Reeves too much.
Oh, really? I think he's a little bit better than Keanu Reeves, actually.
I think he's better, but he's still kind of, he's like, I don't know. Him and Keanu Reeves are the same type.
Is he like the poor man's Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, exactly, Timmy. You can't get Keanu Reeves, you get Jeff Hartnett. Jeff Hartnett, yeah.
Oh, God.
He's a good actor. He will forever be the guy who was in that movie about not masturbating for 30 days.
40 days and 40 nights.
When Mike came out, I was like, oh, another 30 days. Okay.
and see, I had only known Hartnett from that movie or when he first started, like, Halloween H2O or The Faculty. He did some of those teen comedies. So I was very interested seeing him in a horror movie. And he did damn good in this.
Oh, yeah. If you ever, who here has seen Penny Dreadful?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Oh, that is one of the greatest horror series of all times. It's got Dracula. It's got Frankenstein's monster. It's got Dr. Jekyll. It's got the Wolfman. It's got everything. And you'd think something like that could be the biggest fucking turd. But in the same way that they did, in the same way that they reworked Hannibal with Mads Mikkelsen. This was another one that just became this beautiful fucking piece of horror. And it ran for 3 seasons until it ended. And hold on a second. Oh, we got some comments here. John is here. And I guess he's talking about Harnett and Keanu. They're both pretty,
They are both pretty boys.
pretty boys. And John has seen Penny Dreadful. I believe it's available on.
I know I've seen it on. Yeah, I was gonna say I've seen a couple episodes on Netflix. I don't think I was in the right mood for it at the time, and I kind of put it to the side. But I'll definitely give it a rewatch.
Please do. It's fantastic. It's equal to, if not better, than Carnival.
Oh,
Really?
All right. Those are some big shoes to fill.
Really?
Yeah,
I love Carnival.
Same here. I own that too. I'll take the Pepsi challenge with that any day of the week, though.
Okay.
So eventually we get down to this town, which has got about 100 people, and then they're slowly being strangled and cut off. They don't realize it until it's too late. Hold on, we got a couple more comments. Hey, Dan's here. What's up, Dan? Good to see you again. Thanks for stopping in. And when he's talking about Penny Dreadful, if you can watch it, do it. Absolutely. But then by the time they start to understand that something fishy is going on, because that's when Ben Foster really starts to turn it on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's telling them that you can see the dirty teeth, and he's just he grosses everybody out in the jail. But he's telling them that death is coming.
When the phone gets cut off and the computer goes down, they have this shot of him standing inside the cell, and they're just going into him, and he's saying, "It's here," or whatever he's saying is here. Death is going to get you. That was a brilliant shot.
Yeah, he says something like that's not the cold, that's the death, or something like that. That's not the cold of winter, or something like that. Yeah.
And he's like, you can feel it, can't you? You get the impression that he's not just blowing smoke. And as this is happening, you're starting to see some of the people on the outskirts of the town disappear.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy at the satellite at the cell tower.
Yeah.
These circles of people, these people are like encircling him, and then all of a sudden, they sort of rush him. That one scene in particular, where those
people,
two guys
and the girl,
and they're like joking about having a threesome or something, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you just see the one guy just get grabbed, and it happens so fast. You're like, what the hell is that? And it's just, by the time they catch up, it's too late.
Yep.
And it's
funny how the other guy stands there and the girl says, "Fuck you," and runs off.
Women are smarter than men, so they know that.
I guess he's got his ego, plus he doesn't want to leave his boy. And it's just, by that point, it's too late. Now, Josh Hartnett, and this is, one of the, he's got a wife. And he's got a wife, Stella, it's Evan and Stella. And Stella is trying to get the hell out of Dodge because they're separated. She's trying to sneak back into town as a fire marshal and do some quick inspections on the last night. And she ends up getting stuck in the town. So he's sort of stuck in there with his estranged wife, which they never really explore very much, but I don't want them to.
Right.
I want to see the fucking vampires, and they give
me. We all know what fighting with your wife is about, or your girlfriend.
Yeah. And they get into it briefly, and it's enough not to take away from anything else. It doesn't overlap into the horror, especially this kind of horror movie. It's not a horror drama. This is a full-on fucking horror movie. And then you get to that one scene where he and Stella are in the car, and she just says, "Get in the fucking truck."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, they're flooring it. They're flooring that 4x4, and all of a sudden, you just see this shadow come out of nowhere, this silhouette, and just jump on the roof while this truck is going full speed and just starts slamming its hand down into the roof of the of the SUV, and you're like, holy shit. By now, you're about 20, 25 minutes into it. And these people, this director is just going, all these people are just going for it. This is just a fantastic story. It really doesn't let up at any particular point. And what's fantastic about this, you're 25 minutes or so into it. You still really haven't seen anything yet, but you're completely invested. They really haven't even gotten to the sort of the blood and guts of it.
Yeah, and then they don't. He's not just on top of the truck. Well, I don't know if this is the same scene or not, but they're trying to peel away, and then you got a group of vampires behind the truck just lifting it up on the two wheels, and they're just going absolutely but they're going absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some great shots that the director established in this. When you see the vampire just jump on top of the truck, and you see the silhouette of the moon or whatever it is on the side of him, and they're just driving, he's riding, he's just pounding and pounding on top of the roof, and the sound that you hear, it's that was a brilliant shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got to give it to David Slade.
Yeah, this is not Coppola's Dracula. With all the trick shots and and that music. Or, it's not even Interview with the Vampire. I mean, I liked Interview with the Vampire. It was a horror drama. People, thought it was a horror movie. This is a full-on, gory, blood and guts, comic book vampire movie. And it just delivers, man. And you start to get a look at some of these vampires who are led by Danny Houston.
Brilliant Danny Houston.
Yeah, he blew me away.
Rod is going to remember this when we covered Underwater, and I said that one of the characters in there was someone I can't stand, and I said it's Vincent Cassel. And Rod is like, really? He's like, Vincent Cassel's fantastic. I said, he always plays someone I don't like. He always plays a jerk. And Rod's like, well, that probably means he's doing his job. I was like, I get it, but I still don't like him. And Danny Houston fits into this category. Danny Houston almost always plays someone I can't stand. But that probably means, again, like Vincent Cassel, that, he's showing you how good he is. He's sort of the man, or for me personally, he's like the man you love to hate.
Oh, yeah. I only know him from, like Ben Foster. He's in one of the X-Men movies. And he's in a few episodes of American Horror Story, a couple different seasons. And I think he played an axe murderer in one of them.
He played the New Orleans axe murderer.
Yep.
And what?
Witches,
the third season of American Horror Story.
Oh, okay. Was that New Orleans?
Yeah, Coven, the one with the witches. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, I never followed that all the way through. I think I only made it through 2 episodes. Or something.
Yeah, he doesn't come until like maybe more than halfway through. He's only in it for like 2 or 3 episodes, but he's good. He's very scary in it. Very creepy.
When you get a look at these vampires, they are just monsters.
Mm-hmm.
And the language they speak, I like. It's creepy. It's eerie. I like the fact that they could have had them speak English and establish everything, but they had their own language, what I mean, that they spoke and all this.
I looked it up.
Developed the language based on some other some Aboriginal languages. They went to a professor in Australia, I believe, and they developed this language, simple as it was, but it's very like bird-like or bat-like. It just fits with them. They're not regular vampires. They're just some creature that's just previously unknown.
Yeah, that's what I loved is if you put any picture of the vampires in this movie up on the screen, and I thought they reminded me of like a great white shark. They have those black eyes, and they have like literally it looks like shark teeth, and all they do is growl. When they're speaking their language, sometimes they just make clicking noises and stuff like that. That's what I love about these vampires. They're not sexy vampires. It's not Bela Lugosi. These are animalistic. I don't want to say feral vampires because they can communicate. You know what I mean? They're smart, but very animalistic. Like I said, like right there, Danny looks like a great white shark.
Yep. Yeah. They're definitely operating like a pack, like something out of the wild, but they're definitely communicating with each other, and they have to follow Marlowe, this leader. He's definitely like the alpha male of the group, so it's almost like gorillas or wolves or something like that.
Yeah, it's a language I think that they developed that was based on clicks and consonants. It's not it's not any particular language that they picked up. It sounds almost like a Slavic kind of language or something like that. But it's actually, simply developed for the purposes of this movie. What really, I mean, by now you're fully into this movie, and what really gets me is how graphic and cruel the death scenes are.
Oh, yeah.
These are not, I mean, we talked about this, Bill and I, when we did Horror of Dracula, that, in some of the scenes with Lee, were quite frightening, and, he's throwing women around all over the place, this sort of thing. Eric and I talked about Stakeland. That was, I mean, this is on par with that. I mean, it's probably it's better than Stakeland, but I mean, these are just slow, grinding, painful death scenes. These are cruel vampires. They're not interested in necessarily putting you out of your misery quickly. It's a little hard to watch because they're prolonged. And you're just like, oh man, just fucking end it for the person.
Yep.
It's just, it's rough stuff to watch.
It's totally a feeding frenzy. And then you see this scene where the streets are just littered with bodies and blood.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite scenes, when he sits there with his nail and he starts playing the music after he kills that family side. And you see this, like the aunts from this aerial view of the camera going throughout the town, and you see these bodies just getting ripped apart, and these monsters, these vampires, just running back and forth. It's attacking people, pulling people out of their homes, and this whole aerial view going all the way down the corridor, going down the street and seeing it. So that was brilliant, the way he shot that.
And
go ahead.
All right, my favorite part of this screenshot that you have right here, where I was talking about all the chaos and the aerial view, what I love in this whole, feeding frenzy, however you want to call it, is you have the score happening. It's very loud. It's very scary. It's very intense. But then the score starts to slowly disappear. But we're still with this overhead shot, and all we hear is the pouncing, the screaming, the shotguns. So I love how it goes from the score to nothing but the chaos sounds. That was an amazing choice. I loved it.
It reminded me of the first 10 minutes of the remake of Dawn of the Dead. That was as effective as that. Where they're conveying this chaos, and you can't keep track of it, and there's stuff happening here and off the screen, and you hear screaming and you hear the gunshots. It's really effective. It's
perfect rewind material, and I love just I love that it's in winter because the red on the white, the contrast.
Yeah, a Quentin Tarantino type thing.
That's one of the things that grabbed me about this scene. I mean, I don't know if he used some sort of drone or with the drone shot or whatever, but it was that this was a heavily armed town. This wasn't like Salem's Lot or something like that, where things, one person at a time and then two the next night. I mean, these people just descended all en masse and just rushed this town, and you would see every once in a while during this gunfight scene, someone would catch a round in the head, and that would sort of put them down. But by and large, they were shooting these vampires, and the vampires just kept coming. And they just kept overwhelming them. And then there was, where they meet in the diner, and everybody's like, "What the hell are these things?" The few people that are, managing to survive, somehow a lot of them, make it into this diner, and that becomes the core of the survivor team, and they're like, you shoot them and they just keep on coming. That was really effective in establishing, the complete dominance of these vampires. I mean, there was nothing you were going to be able to do.
It's a good detail to throw in there. Even though these vampires are able to withstand a lot of punishment, you can kill them.
Yes.
That was established early, so there isn't this magical thing of like you can keep shooting them and they'll keep coming. There's some way to kill them. and that's becomes important later.
Yeah, I loved how they can be killed, but with a simple headshot. You know,
Yeah, it's gotta be the
which you
headshot.
never really see in a vampire movie. Usually, it's decapitation. You have to cut the head off. But no, you've seen them taking shotgun rounds to the head, and they're done with.
Yep.
Yeah.
So John's here, and he says they are what vampires were in the days of folklore. No romantic interpretation.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a serious vampire movie, man. They don't make them like this very often.
Mm-mm.
And then the waiting comes. Where they find a place to hide in somebody's attic, and I had forgotten this. Because this isn't the type of movie you pop in every 6 months. I only watch this every couple of years, because I don't want to lose the novelty for this movie. It's it's that good. How long they end up waiting in that attic? I mean, the next thing you know, it's been like
Days.
18 days.
Mm-hmm.
18 days. They're just sitting up there in that attic, waiting for these. For something to happen where they can make a move.
Waiting for the sun to come up. That's what they're waiting for. They're trying to survive.
Yeah,
it's pretty badass how the vampires are using human bait too. That was unique, and they're all going along the rooftops, hoping someone falls for the bait.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was probably among the more cruel things that I've seen, because once they realize that, I think Josh Hartnett tries to do something. He goes out, but they realize there's nothing that they can do, and they just, they're swiping at her and cutting her up, and just
after they use her to try to pull her up, yeah.
She doesn't reap anything, so they just eliminate her, and it's just. Yeah, I mean, this guy really went for it, man.
And they do it with the little girl later on. They try to do it with the little girl later on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The little girl was already turned. That one was vicious because, holy cow, they take that girl out like nobody's business. That is almost flirting with an NC-17 rating.
No, that's a different little girl.
That's two different little girls. I'm talking about the little girl that Stella grabbed and pulled under the truck.
Oh, at the end. Okay.
At the end, that one. But the other one that he's talking about, that's in the
drugstore.
In the drugstore.
Holy shit!
Oh man, she said something like, I'm done playing with this, and she turned. I'm like, what the
fuck? It's scary shit, man.
Yeah. You know what that reminded me of? And we're going to cover this at some point this year. Stephen King's The Mist, where they try to venture from the store over to the pharmacy to get some medications, and it's been overrun by the spiders.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this is fucking awful. And William Sadler is just fucking phenomenal in that. I love William Sadler. And anything that he's in, I'll fucking watch it. But I mean, they're just completely unsparing. Now, there's one scene of humor in this whole movie, and I don't know, maybe it's just my twisted sense of humor. It's when that old man decides that he's going to get up and walk to Wainwright.
Oh, right.
I'm going to Wainwright. And he just kind of goes down the ladder and he walks right out the stairs. Maybe this wouldn't have worked for anybody else, but it would have been great if at the end of the movie, like you show him actually making it.
Still walking.
I could see.
You never know what happens to him. You never see him get killed.
I could see any of us in like 30 years. I'm fucking walking to Wainwright. I'm not staying up here in this fucking attic or anything like that. We just take off, and then at the end of the movie, we're like the only people who fucking survived or something. We end up going to Wainwright, and. That one guy, his son is just trying to take care of him, and it ends up costing him his son's life, although he's it's not his fault, he's got dementia. Mark Boone Jr. is great in this movie. Mark Boone as Bo.
Yeah.
Bo, I mean, even among the fucking isolated people out there, he's
a
taking
badass.
It further by like being way out on the outskirts of town. He's like nasty to everybody. He doesn't want to talk to you.
when Hartnett writes him that citation, you didn't have to do that. Yeah, well, he lives on the outskirts. It makes him still feel a part of the town. You know what I mean? Something like that.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that at the time. I was like, that's actually fucking smart.
Mhm.
He belongs to, you belong to this. You're not totally out there. You've got to be anchored a little bit too. That's actually
Yep.
I would say that's actually pretty fucking wise. Although that's an odd way to go about it. But I'm like, yeah, that's fucking right. So I mean, I guess
When he goes off and kills all these people, all these vampires, I love that fucking scene. He goes ahead with that tractor and he tries to blow himself up, and he has a shotgun blowing these heads off, and the tractor chopping these vampires' heads off. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, go for it.
Yeah, and then when he's got the flares, he's like, you bastards aren't going to eat me, and then blows up the house, and he has a total badass hero moment. Mark Boone Jr. is good in anything, whether it's Sons of Anarchy. He's in another vampire movie that Mike, I love, John Carpenter's Vampires. He's one of James Woods' crew in the beginning, or even when he's like the scuzzy guy in Seven. He gives he's like the FBI agent that works under the table and gives the information to Freeman and Brad Pitt. He's always good.
He's great as Flash in Batman Begins.
Yep.
He has one of the best lines in that whole movie. He takes money out of that guy's till, and the guy's like, God, I got kids to feed. He's like, what? They don't like falafel? He just walks away. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you're an asshole.
Or he's got a great death, and we covered Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. He's one of the rednecks that he kills in the open field.
Oh yeah, that's right.
With the pickup truck.
Yeah. Hold on, we got another comment in here. Boone Jr. was a great character. Yeah, he was. He's always a great character. He's probably close to 70 now or something. Like that.
I checked to see everything I saw him in. Like when I was watching it, he's 66.
Okay.
Wow.
Damn. And he's one of those people who's probably never. He's just underrated.
Mm-hmm.
He's just underrated, or maybe even typecast as a certain type. I'd love to see him do something like in comedy, just straight comedy or something like that. He'd probably be really good. I think in terms of horror and comedy, there's a thing with timing there, and there probably could be a trade-off where you could see him do some of that other stuff. Like Bill, remember we were talking about Horror Express?
Oh yeah,
and we were just like, you saw Peter Cushing tell jokes.
Yes.
And you're like, he's really fucking fun. Like, that's actually really funny. Now, I don't know if it was actually funny or it was just funny because I was seeing Peter Cushing tell a joke, like 4 decades after I had first seen him or something like that. But I was like, yeah, there's a relationship in here in terms of the timing with both of those types of things. So
it was funny. It was almost like he was trying to be the Avengers.
Yeah.
Trying to be that witty, sophisticated British fella.
Yeah. So finally we get to, day 27, and, they've gone as far as they're going to go, and Josh Hartnett decides to inject himself with some of that vamp blood.
Yeah.
What did you think about that? Was that a bridge too far, or no problem?
I was totally fine with it, 100% with it.
That's the thing I appreciated
nothing wrong with
about the movie the most was that I kept waiting for it to go into formula to wrap it up, and it never did that. I was not expecting him to turn himself into a vampire. Was not expecting him to have that final fight scene. Everything was just a surprise for me when I was sitting there waiting for the formula to kick in.
I really did understand why the other vampires just let them fight. You know what I mean? It's like, he might be our leader now, so let's go ahead and have our 2 guys fight, and they're just standing there in the background, not even jumping in on Josh.
I think they knew that since Danny Houston was their leader, this was his fight type of thing.
Yeah, there's that one scene where Josh Hartnett goes into the weed house, into Grandma's weed house.
Good grandma with the weed,
Grandma's got the UV lamp going on. But there's an important scene there where that one female vampire goes to jump the stairs and to storm the house, and she's gonna buck Danny Houston, but then she has to look.
She needs permission.
And get that permission. So like nothing happens without Danny Houston's express consent. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think before any of them can do anything, I think Josh Hartnett just goes right after Danny Houston.
Yeah, it's that thing of dominance in the wild. Two lions could fight for the dominance of the pride, and the rest of the pride's not going to jump in.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So like these vampires are more animal than they are human, so they're not going to have that urge to, jump in on a fight. They're just, our leader died. This guy's our leader now, I guess, or they walk away. That's just how it happens in nature.
Yeah. I think that they fell back and let these two guys fight it out, and it's not our fight. So, and he manages to deal. I think he surprises Danny Houston.
It was so good.
He surprised me when I fucking saw what he did.
Yeah,
he punched right through his mouth to the back of his throat. I was like, "Where did that shit come from?" He's got his ass beat. Then he pulls his. And then it seems like he just jumps right on his hand, and then he just went right through his mouth. I'm like, okay.
I've mentioned this before. My daughter, she's getting into horror now. She's 9 years old, and she loves the blood and guts now because she's getting into special effects, how it's made. So she was watching like the last 15, 20 minutes, while she was eating or whatever, and she was watching this fight. And she thought the fight was cool, and then suddenly out of nowhere, Danny Houston's taken out. She's like, "Dad, what happened?" I'm like, "I don't know." So we rewound it a couple times, and then she didn't say it like this, but basically she's like, "Holy shit, that was cool." She thought that was so neat how just out of nowhere, boom, literally boom, he's gone.
Yeah. Now
I like the way Billy was killed. You can see the way he chopped his deputy's neck, and you can actually see him like his neck was fall off more and more and more, and all these. It's like, wow. They're like, damn. Then he falls, and then he has his hand cut off in the
grinder or whatever.
The grinder, yeah.
You get the top vampire kill of the whole thing when the guy just went right in there.
Yeah, that bald one, the bald one with the with the Asian looking eyes. He just, there's quite the kills are gory, they're graphic. There's quite a few kills involving axes. There's quite a few kills of people having to kill other people that have been bitten or turned or whatever. I mean, it's just an unsparing, unflinching vampire movie. And you don't get many of those very often. I mean, we get like you were saying, Bill, we get the formula, we get the romance.
But there's no happy ending.
Yeah. And there's just none of this here. This is a full-on, it doesn't overlap with really any other genre. It's a full-on horror movie.
It kind of reminds me of these zombie movies, these like World War Z type, the way these killings and stuff are happening. You know what I mean? It falls in that line for me.
What's that one with is it Dawn of the Dead, the one with Ving Rhames?
Yes.
Where they're in the mall, they're trapped in the mall. Yeah, it reminded me of that a little bit. That didn't overlap with too many other things. It wasn't, Brad Pitt trying to get back to his wife or, anything like that. It was just people just trying to survive, and so people are trapped in the mall. So, there's a great, formula right there. It's a great setting. And here you got people that are trapped for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah.
30, a complete fucking month in a town that's just been fucking blitzed by sadistic vampires.
Yep.
And what I love about this is, kind of like The Thing, when I watch The Thing, when you're watching this, you feel cold. Yes. Because there's so many shots of them walking into the snow and the wind blowing straight into their face. Like when, I think his name is Billy, the deputy, when they find him after he's taking care of his family, so to say, and they're bringing him back to the group, and then just the three of them walking into the wind, and you feel like, Mike, you're in Jersey, I'm in Illinois, I know the bitter cold. I mean, it's nowhere near Alaska, but I felt that watching that scene.
Rod, you used to live in Illinois.
I know both. I know the Jersey cold. I know the Chicago cold. I was there. I was there for the 70 below, and 97 or something like that, when it's 70 or 80 below or something like that. So I know the cold. Yeah, it's kind of is really bad. Yeah. Yeah.
I think the scene that grabbed me in terms of the cold was when Billy makes it to the utilidor. Somehow he gets separated or something like that, and you see him like crawl up. You see just his head popping because they have to go in through the bottom of the big building at the end. And he I could almost, I no bullshit. I literally could almost feel like the warmth he must have felt, because just like freezing to death. You're like, oh man, this is rough. Everything fires on this movie, man. Everything is just firing all the time, and unfortunately, they don't make more vampire movies like this. Hold on, we got another comment here. He goes, the only thing colder in this movie were the vampires. Yeah. And you got the impression these were, very old vamps. Old vamps who had just been, they just got a mobile castle and they've just, been floating around and, doing whatever they've been doing until they, strike this fucking, this is like striking gold here.
It just makes
you cold. Speaking of the cold, it's totally ironic that in the end, what happens to Josh Hartnett? Doesn't freeze.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
he ends up going.
Yeah, I thought that was cheesy. I'm sorry. I know cheesy. I thought that I didn't like the ending. This whole director had to put that Twilight love story shit in the end. It's like, give me a fucking break. And he did direct Twilight, the last Twilight movie or something like that. So the whole,
I didn't see it.
Give me a break. They went to kiss and he turned.
Wait, this is the way the graphic novel ended.
Yeah.
This is the way the graphic novel ended. So it
wasn't the director's choice. It's still cheesy. I'm still. They finally get back together. They're in love, and he turns into ash. I don't need to see that shit.
What did you want to
see? Man.
What did you want to do, Spielberg?
How about walk away? Come on, he dies right there. The sun comes up, dad dies. They're dying to walk. Give me a break. He dies in her arms, and give me a bag of Cheetos. Give me a bag of Cheetos and call it a day.
Oh, jeez. I thought Bill was bad. Good grief. Worse than he is.
I'm cynical, but I'm not that cynical.
Not even like 30 Days and Nights. Oh, my God.
Just the ending. I love the movie. Just that ending was kind of like, okay. It's too Twilighty to me. Too Twilighty to me.
Well, one, I like the fact that it didn't really have any dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't have any dialogue. And I thought it was consistent with the story because it was painful. It was painful. He was suffering. I mean, like his sacrifice had no reward.
Yeah, he was shuddering when he was burning. You felt it watching him. I thought.
Yeah, I thought. The
30-day motif. I mean, come on. There's no way they could end it but have the sun come up and kill a vampire. How do you know a movie about
the whole love thing, you didn't establish the whole story like that.
It was his wife, man.
They were separated. Let the issues stand. You know what I mean?
This isn't Ruthless People, man. He's not married to Hitler. We should cover
the Roses.
We should cover that one time. Ruthless People.
I've never seen it.
You've never seen Ruthless People?
No.
Holy shit! It's the story about this guy who he hates his wife, and he only married her because she was the boss's daughter, and he thought the boss was going to die, so he's going to inherit everything. So he rushes right out and marries her. But then the boss never dies, so he ends up being stuck with her for like all these years, and like he can't fucking stand her. So he hires someone to kill her. It's a comedy. He hires someone to kill her, but on the day, or he plans to kill her or something like that. But on the day that it's supposed to happen, somebody else kidnaps her and holds her for ransom. So he figured he just saved himself a lot of money because he's just not going to pay the ransom and let them kill her. And it's Danny DeVito. It's like the greatest fucking role Danny DeVito's any play. Bill Pullman's in it. Judge Reinhardt, Helen Slater. Oh man,
Okay,
it's just a great fucking movie.
I'll
Hold
look
on a
for it. I'll
second.
check it out.
Yeah, that one
Hold
and
on,
Tin
John's
Man.
here. Really? We got another one here, another performing arts. It reminded me of you. Wait, did you just compare this movie to that Jack Palance Dracula?
Of course, John did. That's what he
Yeah,
does.
of course. Jesus. Vampire. That was the worst fucking. I watched 15 minutes. He had to write it over 3 sentences. I didn't spell it right that time. I didn't get it right that time. Let me correct you too. Oh, wait, there's a 4th sentence. Okay, the ending. All right. Now you're blocked. All right, blocked from delete.
He'll have the green screen next time you have him on, right?
Yeah. I can't believe he just compared that to like that Jack Palance fuck. That was a TV movie too. Jesus, what a piece of shit that was. So, all right, these are naysayers from the performing arts section of the crowd aside here. The rest of us enjoyed this movie, and I would strongly, and I think we all would, strongly encourage you to catch this.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you haven't, it's on Pluto TV. Oh, here he comes with another one. Hold on.
Is it the Franklin Jello one now?
Should have sent you an invite, not with that fucking commentary. I'm not sending you shit. All right. No, the Frank Langella one was the one where he refused to wear fangs.
Oh, then you're not Dracula.
He's got his shirt open like this the whole time. It's like some 70s, hairy chest thing going on, and you're like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, no fangs.
Italian.
God.
Don't be racist. It's Italian. It's a thing.
He didn't have that little carrot. It wasn't that golden. Forget about it. It's just. I mean, I love Langella. I loved him in The Ninth Gate, where he plays fucking Boris Balkan. He's just an evil bastard. And he's done a couple of other drama-ish type movies that I've enjoyed a lot, but that was just a turd. And you would think fucking Frank Langella and Dracula would be good, but that was a piece of shit too. I don't know. I think a lot of times, I'd say half the time they get it wrong. Maybe even more than half, maybe 60% of the time, I think they get vampire movies wrong because they try to cross over the genres.
Yep.
And most of the time they do a shit job.
Totally.
Because they either make a movie, they try to make it a horror and a romance or a horror and a drama instead of just making one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like recently, I just saw one. Jim Jarmusch did and I'm a huge Jim Jarmusch fan. He did a vampire movie called "The Only Lovers Left Alive," and it's a vampire movie from 2013 with Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton.
Ooh, I'm in.
Yeah, and they're vampires and they're a couple. And you get the impression that they've been like Tilda Swinton may be upwards of 1,000 years old.
Right.
And so she, like, they don't even live, like, they've been together so long, they don't even live together. Like, she lives in Tunisia, and he lives, like, she just does nothing but read books. Like,
It reminds me of The Hunger with David Bowie.
Yeah.
It's
And, like,
fantastic, and I just recently resaw that.
that's a good movie.
Better than I remember.
And he lives in Detroit, where he's like this underground obscure like musician. He makes like this underground like obscure guitar music and shit like this. But it's not a horror movie. It's just like almost like a romance drama. And it's not scary at all. They don't try to make it more than one thing. Like you can do that if you do it well, and it's Jim Jarmusch. So, who the hell are we to, tell him anything? And he does a fantastic job. That's a fucking great movie. The Only Lovers Left Alive, The Only Lovers Left Alive, I think it's called. It's like this 2-hour fucking vampire movie that's just not scary at all. But it's Jim Jarmusch, so it's just fucking operatic. It's just beautiful to watch.
You sold me on Tilda Swinton. I'll watch anything with her.
Yeah,
I love her.
Yeah, so am I.
It sounds like Vampire from Brooklyn. Vampire to Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy.
With Eddie Murphy? Oh,
no,
geez.
it's not Vampire in Brooklyn.
That's a
comparisons, man.
It's a love story. Come on, there's a vampire falling in love.
Vampire in Brooklyn is not a love story.
They try to make it a fucking love story.
They tried to make a movie and failed with Vampire in Brooklyn. You know.
Hold on.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I like the movie. Don't get me wrong; it's a terrible movie, but it's
Vampire. Boy, we're just pulling out all the. You just throw. This is like a fucking al dente conversation. You're just throwing anything at the wall and see what sticks.
I'm glad I was here for Rod's final appearance on America Little.
Hold on. Frank Langella is Jewish. Thank you. And a crow, but that didn't help that fucking Dracula movie. So yeah. Just go see this fucking movie. Go see that Jim Jarmusch movie, because it's just worthwhile. Just don't go in expecting it to be a horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's like this meditation, and like Hiddleston is like he's kind of tired of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
Like after you'd figure after hundreds, and there's just nothing new anymore. And he's just watching society kind of fall apart. It's a beautiful thing to watch.
It's just basically a drama that just happens to have vampires in it. It's not a vampire movie. It makes me think of like Maggie. That it's an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie where he's in a zombie. Yeah, his daughter is a zombie, but it's not a zombie movie. That type of deal, I guess.
Yeah.
So I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
What's the name of that Ethan Hawke vampire movie that's not a horror movie? It's just sort of a medical drama.
Yeah, Daybreakers.
Yeah.
We're covering that.
Ooh.
That's on the list. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly when. It's on the calendar.
I think that's Willem Dafoe too, isn't it?
Yeah, Willem Dafoe and Sam Neill. Willem Dafoe, Ethan Hawke, and Sam Neill. March 30.
Okay.
That's all
you say Willem Dafoe, I'm there. You say Willem Dafoe, I'm there.
That's a serious fucking movie, man. They're not fucking around with that movie either. Sam Neill is just a bastard in that movie, man.
That one's definitely on my top 5.
Yeah. That's good shit. All right, I think this is as good a place to bring it to a close as anywhere. My thanks to the 31st Day for surviving and coming back and reporting from Jersey, what he saw there in Barrow.
I didn't know.
My thanks from Hey Internet, from Eric here, from the Internet and from the green screen and the Cinemax and whatever else he's there he goes, and on cue he can do it upon command.
That's right.
And Radical Rod with his hot takes from the evening.
I gotta add some humor.
Yeah, you added something. All right. All right, so we'll be back here tomorrow with another performing arts major. John Alvarez will be here, and Ryan, the return of Ryan, who's also recovering from COVID. His whole family was down. They'll be back tomorrow as we complete finally our top 10 fantasy fucking list. So that will be nice from December. And then next week, let's just talk about next week a little bit now. Next week we are here with, this is going to be fun. Okay, on Wednesday, we come back with some serious fucking Sam Neill. We're going to be doing Event Horizon. Which is a fantastic science fiction horror flick. Rod, if you're still down with the Rona or the quarantine or whatever, you're welcome to join in. And then the day after that, here we go. We're ending the week strong. Stir of Echoes.
I'm down with that. I already told you I'm doing that one with you, buddy.
Kevin Bacon. I just saw Kevin Bacon in a movie the other day, and I'm like, fuck, I forgot Kevin Bacon's in it. It was that movie Patriots Day about the Boston Marathon bombing. That's a good fucking movie. But yeah, that's a great fucking horror movie. And you forget sometimes that Kevin Bacon has done a couple of horror movies, and they're all fucking solid.
Well, not all of them. One of his first ones was the original Friday the 13th, but still, he's one of the regardless, he's one of these big time actors that started in horror, and he's not afraid to keep doing them. So I will definitely be here Thursday. Okay. Trust me.
So we got Event Horizon, and we got
I'll be there for that.
Yeah, we'll be there. All right, my thanks to everybody tonight for stopping in, and until the next time, peace out, everybody. Don't waste your time with bullshit.
Cheers.
Don't watch
Go
that
Eagles.
and don't watch that fucking Frank Langella bullshit either.
Or